High intensity versus high volume training has been a debate for the best strength athletes for decades. Strength is the father of all physical qualities. Everything you want, muscle, skills, athleticism, longevity, it all starts with getting stronger. Everything improves when strength improves. And right now the hot trend is doing 1 or 2 all-out sets to failure. The high intensity, low volume crowd is loud, and I'll say it clearly. They are right. High effort works. RPE 9 to 10 works. It's one of the highest return on investment strategies in training. You can build a surprising amount of strength with very little work. But I believe it should not be the only thing you do in training, because those 1 to 2 brutal sets feel incredible until the body starts feeling deconditioned. Listen, it's not a secret. Your body adapts to whatever you do or whatever you don't do. So if the volume drops substantially, the body gets accustomed to not doing a lot. So even if your peak strength is still high, you might feel heavier and out of shape. Recovery between sets slows down, recovery between workouts slows down, and the joints don't feel as lubricated, right? At first, I believe it feels great. You flush a lot of fatigue out of the system and strength rises. But after 3 or 4 weeks of only low volume, high intensity work, your work capacity drops off a cliff and you start feeling deconditioned. That's when I started thinking more and more about the old school bar calisthenics athletes. Do you remember the old YouTube videos, the Bar Brothers? Man, they were insane athletes. It's not a coincidence that on average their physiques were sharper year-round. Their energy was high, their endurance was insane, and they could perform sets that lasted minutes. Endless pull-ups, dips, muscle-ups, sets of 50, 70, 100 reps like machines. No complicated debates, no arguing about optimal rep range. Just taking high rep training seriously. And their look wasn't just genetics or diet. The training itself signaled the body to stay lean, conditioned, ready, and carry a lot of muscle mass. But even they had limits. They weren't as strong as the pure strength athletes. They weren't as strong in short isometric holds as gymnasts are on ring skills. They aren't as strong in 1 rep max as street lifters are nowadays. And that's where the best lifters in history all arrived at the same answer. You need both. Marvin Eder, one of the strongest pound for pound men to ever walk the earth, trained 4 days a week on one of his famous programs. 1 heavy low rep strength day, followed up by 1 high rep tons of work bodybuilding day. He didn't choose a camp. He blended both. And he was doing 9 to 10 one-arm pull-ups each arm at 200 pounds body weight. Doing dips with extra 400 pounds in the 60s and benching 500 raw. Ed Cohn, the greatest powerlifter of all time, used 1 or 2 heavy sets on the main lift of the day, squat, bench, deadlift or overhead press, followed up by higher rep bodybuilding accessories. And he said that in hindsight, the only thing he would probably change in his lifting career would be more bodybuilding work because of how much it amplified his strength and longevity. Even Julius Maddox, the raw bench press world record at 782 pounds, can you imagine? Performs high rep push-ups every single week in his program. Bodyweight push-ups. The strongest raw bench presser alive uses high rep calisthenics to keep his bench strong and work capacity up. Coached by Josh Bryant, one of the best strength coaches to exist. That alone should open people's eyes. And I felt the same thing in my own training when I was building up to heavy straight arm skills, cross, planche, Maltese at my best ring shape. I always did 1 to 2 very heavy straight arm sets per week for each movement, but followed up with a ton of volume. 50 to 100 reps of every tricep, biceps, chest or back exercises, and 50 to 100 reps of a core exercise, either anterior or posterior chain, every session. dips, ring push-ups, pull-ups, ring chin-ups, leg raises, back extensions, hyper extensions, a ton of reps. And it's probably one of the reasons I've been fortunate to avoid major straight arm injuries after 9 years of ring training at 180 pounds body weight, well into my 30s. Because whenever you want to test if a training system really works, you test it at the extremes. Can you get strong with only high intensity and low volume? Yes. But can you stay healthy and strong for 10, 15, 20, 30 years like that? That's where people break. And we've all seen the pattern. Bicep tears, shoulder tears, pec strains from overly specific, overly intense, minimal volume programs, attempts style calisthenics. Now let's talk about the true gods of bodyweight strength. Ring gymnasts. Actual bodyweight athletes at the highest level ever produced. No calisthenic athlete has ever come close to the pure strength Yuri Van Gelder, Artur Zanetti, Brandon Wynn, Patrunias, Chen Yibing, Lu Yang, or Yingming Yong displayed on rings. And here's the crazy part. We don't even know how strong they truly were. We only see the routines they perform effortlessly, flawlessly in competition, where they have to perform with no to little deductions. Their true max strength is probably far beyond what we've ever seen. And yet, these guys routinely perform hundreds of reps of basics, compounds, and isolation work. Their endurance and work capacity are through the roof. They don't do only pure ring strength training. They never did just ultra-specific heavy work. They always combined very high force, low rep or short isometric hold ring elements with tons of high rep foundational work. There's a merit to high reps. There's a merit to low reps. You don't have to choose. And the fact that you're here watching this channel tells me something. You're curious, you're interested, you know there's more to learn, you know there's a better way to strength train, and you already understand this intuitively. You don't fall into dogma. You train like the strongest athletes actually train, not how the loudest voices on the internet argue. Strength builds your ceiling, and high rep work builds the foundation. That's the base that keeps the ceiling from collapsing. That's how you get strong, stay strong, and perform well for a lifetime, not for just a phase. If you want one-on-one online coaching, check the link in the description. Book a free call with me. Let's see if it's a good fit. Like, share, and subscribe the video only if you like the video. Talk to you next time.